with Greek-American author and journalist and co-founder of Huffington Post, Arianna Huffington, when she visited South Africa last November as one of the speakers at the Discovery Leadership Summit. Now, the focus of her talk was her assertion that the global working world is suffering from sleep deprivation.
She's written over a dozen books on such varied subjects. Her biggest claim to fame was co-founder of the hugely successful online publication Huffington Post. But these days, Arianna Huffington goes all over the world on a crusade to create a life of well-being, wisdom, and wonder through her Thrive Global initiative that encourages the content of her other book, The Sleep Revolution, which was the subject of her talk at the Discovery Leadership Summit. Part of the Thrive Global offering is a 6-week online course that promises to take you from surviving to thriving through proper sleeping patterns. You have written on so many varied topics. Which one are you bringing to the Discovery Leadership Summit?
So yes, I've written 15 books, and I'm a very curious person, so I love to explore new topics. But now my passion and the reason I left the Huffington Post to focus on it 100% for the rest of my life is to help change the way we work and live. Because I feel that we are all under a collective delusion. When I say we, I mean literally everybody around the world, whether you're in South Africa or the United States or China or Japan, under this collective delusion that in order to succeed, we have to burn out. And we see millions of people around the world destroying their health, their relationships, because they think they can't afford to slow down, to take care of themselves, to disconnect from their devices. And the science is so conclusive that, in fact, when we take care of ourselves, when, as they say on aeroplanes, we put our own oxygen mask first, we are much more productive, much more effective, and everything in our lives is better, from our decision-making to our health and our happiness. And so I love the fact that Discovery is so based on behavior change, on incentivizing behavior change, because my new company, Thrive Global, is all about behavior change. You know, how can we, through micro steps, I believe that behavior change starts with very, very small, tiny steps, introduce more well-being and more clarity and less stress in our lives. We're in a period of transition, and during this period of transition, multiple behaviors are coexisting. You still have companies that expect their employees to answer emails in the middle of the night, but increasingly, more and more progressive and actually aware companies are realizing that it's in the interest of the bottom line to have employees who come to work recharged. Because right now, we have the latest Gallup poll that shows that only 13% of employees around the world are engaged in their jobs. You know, if you come to work exhausted, you may be at your desk, but what exactly are you doing? Updating your Facebook status? Responding to emails? How creative and productive are you? We all know what it's like to operate like a zombie, and we can change that.
One of the biggest challenges around the world, especially in South Africa, and you touched on it at the beginning of our conversation, is inequality.
Yes.
And these thought leadership gatherings are really gaining traction around the world. Are they reaching the person that's supposed to get this message, or are they niche messages?
Well, first of all, it's very important for leaders to hear from each other and to take this danger of growing inequality seriously. I don't think we've taken it seriously enough. We keep being surprised. You know, we're surprised by Brexit. Now we're surprised by Trump's election. What else are we going to be surprised by? We know enough from history that when people lose hope, they make terrible decisions that are even against their self-interest. I mean, Donald Trump is obviously against the self-interest of the people who voted for him. But we have so many examples in history where that happened. And I think both leaders and everybody in a democracy have to realize how precious democracy is. I mean, here in South Africa, of course, you have it in even more recent memory of how precious it is. So it can't be taken for granted. I think it's a disgrace that millions of people did not vote in the United States and just take the right to vote for granted. So I think leaders talking to each other and reinforcing what needs to be done is important. And now, of course, with social media, the word spreads. You know, it's not just the people in the room. Things are going to be tweeted. You are doing an interview. So I think what is going to be discussed during the summit is also going to percolate to anyone who is interested.
Well, that is the second part of the interview that our Morning Live producer Desiree Chauke did with the co-founder of Huffington Post, Arianna Huffington, when she visited South Africa last November as one of the speakers at the Discovery Leadership Summit. We really thank her for her time. And that